My name is Zychoski, Superintendent of Schools, North Township Public Schools. I want to wish everyone a happy Wednesday evening. We weathered the storm of all storms, but luckily the weathermen get it wrong sometimes. So we're happy to have you here tonight. We met as a group. Many of you were in this room. Not all of you, but many of you were in this room a few months ago, and we were talking about standards, the Common Core standards. And we said at that time in May, we look forward to speaking with you again as we talk about the assessment standards known as Parcc. And we thought maybe by October, November, we would meet as a community. We had made it only because so much was being discussed publicly and at the department, at the county level, school level, about the assessments known as Parcc that we're about to endeavor. Our children are about to take this March, April, and May. So we said we'd get together and try to bring you as much information that we could for you and your children, your family. So tonight's agenda is a very robust agenda, and we're very excited about it. But as superintendent, I asked the administrative staff here to have one goal. And the one goal is that when you leave this room, you will have more information, more accurate information about the Parcc assessments and what does the Parcc assessment mean to you and your family, and specifically your child or children here in North Brunswick. What does it mean? What can you expect? What can your child expect? As I said, we have a robust agenda. We decided to bring you the practitioners, our supervisors, the people who are involved in testing, not only the Parcc testing that New Jersey has over the past several years. So before we get started, I do want to make a few introductions. I would ask, I don't want to miss any board members, but we do have a few board members here tonight. Please, I'll ask you to stand up. Our board president, Mr. Rich Ladori, Rich, board member David Hyam, board member Mala will be speaking tonight, so don't go anywhere, stay up front. I did see Ms. Amanda Guadagnino, and of course, new board member Dave Rock. Dave, say hello. So thank you for being here, supporting us as we present to the community. Also, we have some special guests. One of my colleagues and the Superintendent Roundtable, Middlesex County Superintendent Roundtable President. She's also the Superintendent of Middlesex School District, Dr. Linda Madison. Linda, thank you for being here, Doc. And we also have some county and state level. The county wanted to support North Brunswick. We have an outstanding new mic to so what do we do when the technology fails? We start again. Now, we have an outstanding executive county superintendent, Dr. Laura Marana, a former superintendent herself. Dr. Marana, just say hello. You're here for support, and take some notes because she wants to hear from the North Brunswick constituencies, and she wants to hear from the community of North Brunswick. And we also I have another guest that wants to bring back some of your thoughts and questions and some of the ongoing dialogue that superintendents are having with their communities from the DOE, Department of Education, New Jersey's Assistant Commissioner, Ms. Kim Harrington. Kim? Thank you. So, without further ado, I do want to talk about the agenda. So tonight's agenda, we're going to talk about standards and assessment. Parcc, the who, the what, the when, where, and how. Special needs students, scores, reports, graduation requirements, the Parcc preparation, the resources, closing comments, and question answers. Now, we're going to have a number of speakers here. We don't want you to have to wait to the very, very end. So if you have a thought or a comment, well, certainly our speaker, if it's timely and relevant, our speaker will get to you. But we will also have, at the end of the program, an opportunity for those who didn't get a chance to ask a question, maybe a topic or an area we didn't discuss, to ask questions for the good of the order so we can engage in a dialogue, not just reporting out to you. So we'll look forward to that part at the end of the program. But please, if you have thoughts, you have some questions, why we're going through a specific area, if we can answer it, we'll answer at that point. But if you don't get a chance to ask a question, maybe we missed it, maybe you have a question about some controversy you may have heard about Parcc, and we didn't get a chance to touch on it. Please, we'll be here to answer it and give you the factual information so you can take it back and certainly understand where North Brunswick is as relative to Parcc. With that, I will introduce our Director of Curriculum / Technology for another 2 months. As you may have heard, he's moving on into the private sector. When you do a good job, the problem is when you train people to do a great job and they do a great job, they get hired by other people. So he'll be with us for another 60 days, and I wouldn't let him leave before Parcc. So you understand, he's been part of the Parcc conversation for the past 4 years as we planned for standards and Parcs and how we align strategically, everything from budgeting to technology plans to assessment plans to a curriculum rewrite. So part of that, and he's been a big part of that, is Mr. Chad Marcus. Chad?
Thank you, Dr. Zychoski. Maybe just lower that a hair for me. Perfect. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. And we are really excited with the turnout that we have here tonight. Education is definitely a partnership. By the sheer numbers that we see here tonight, we can see that our community takes that partnership very, very seriously. Before we start talking about Parcc in great specifics and detail, wanted to take a look backwards and talk about the history of academic standards and assessment in New Jersey. And I see a lot of you taking pictures, not of me for some weird reason, but of our screen. Just to let you know, this presentation will be up with a lot of other resources on the district website tomorrow morning for everyone to access. For those folks that aren't here tonight, we're also videotaping this presentation, so this will be available for them to watch at home and stream live, off the web. You'll also notice throughout the presentation tonight, there are some words underlined and in blue. All of those links are clickable for when you are at home, and you can go in and read a lot more about the topics that we're discussing tonight. Well, with that, the history of academic standards in New Jersey. Well, prior to 1996, New Jersey did not have standards. Certain districts worked to have standards, and the reason for that is they want to try to foster some consistency from one classroom to the next. So before standards, you might have a second grade classroom that's teaching a unit on George Washington. You might have another classroom across the hall or across town that was teaching a unit on Abraham Lincoln. There weren't common standards for teachers to think about. And even within those units or those themes, people will be touching on different skills, different concepts, different focus areas. So we really needed standards. So New Jersey stepped in 1996 and developed the New Jersey Core Curriculum Content Standards for the 9 major subject areas. These standards were incredibly detailed. They were also incredibly lengthy. They had an enormous number of skills and concepts and things that students needed to master, and they were very hard to accomplish within a single year. They were also very hard to assess. Another problem was when we were having this conversation in New Jersey, our states around the country were having very inconsistent conversations because they all had their own standards. So in 2010, a group of states, a group of governors, not the federal government, developed the Common Core Initiative. And with that came the Common Core state standards were born. So these are standards that are implemented in almost all of the states in our country, and they are aligned to college and career expectations. Our colleges, our universities were very vocal and are key participants in this process because the product that they were getting from high schools around the country were very, very inconsistent. Students had different levels of mastery. Students had different experiences coming to them, and they wanted to ensure that students would truly be ready for college and also be ready to enter the career and the job force as well. These standards are internationally benchmarked. If you open the paper on an average day, you will find an article that talks about the quality of U.S. schools and that schools around the country are producing superior students. We certainly don't believe that. We believe in our school system here, but we want to ensure that our students are held to the highest standards. So these standards are internationally benchmarked to be competitive in our global world. They're very coherent and they're focused on achievement. They are attainable. As I mentioned, the old standards, they were kind of an inch wide, an inch deep, but a mile wide. There was no great depth going into any of these standards. We were able to just touch upon things. These new standards focus. They have tremendous focus, and they are really focused on attainable skills and outcomes for students. And they include rigorous content and application. These are process standards. These are application standards. They're not just lists of things for students to know. We want to see what students can do, and we want to engage them in high-quality instruction in the classroom. So with standards comes assessment. Anything you expect, you must inspect in order for people to be held accountable. So in terms of accountability, the federal government has passed legislation that requires the individual states to assess students' progress towards achievement on the standards. Our state regulations require school districts to administer standardized assessments. This is nothing new. For decades, we've been assessing students. I can throw a lot of acronyms at you that you might remember from when you were in school. The HSPTs, the ESPA, the GEPA, those changed to the NJASC, those changed to HESPA, and now they're changing once again to Parcc. But the difference is Parcc is a national assessment that many states throughout the country are participating in. But the good news is these are not being given in addition to those old assessments. These are replacing the NJF. These are replacing HESPA. So we are moving to a new next generation of assessment. So merits of the new standards and of Parcc. There is greater consistency between districts and states. We want to be able to compare apples to apples. And right now, if we compare achievement in New Jersey to any of the other states, we are not talking about the same test that students are taking. So this is going to be able to help New Jersey really receive the credit it deserves because we have some of the best schools in the country. There's a clear progression between topics, content, and proficiencies. We have a very clear set of expectations for what students need to do in each subject area and when they need to do it. And if students aren't making that progress, we have interventions and resources and support to help them achieve. We have a deeper commitment to quality curriculum. That is certainly true here in North Brunswick. We have spent tremendous amount of time looking at our curriculum, revising it, continuously revising it to ensure it's going to produce the highest outcomes for students. But it's not just the case here in North Brunswick. It's happening nationally. Our publishing companies that we work with, they're providing more consistent quality aligned to the same sets of standards. Educators that work and collaborate and articulate on a professional level with people face-to-face and digitally and virtually around the country are working to meet this quality and to promote these higher expectations. As I mentioned before, colleges and universities are participating in this as well. They're helping us raise the bar and helping that students will transition successfully from public schools into colleges. And they foster nationwide accountability with a true national metric. Now, some of you may be familiar with a test called the NAEP. Prior to Parcc and Smarter Balance, which is Parcc, another test that some states are using, the last national test that was administered was the NAEP. And schools were identified to participate in a random sampling. And if you look at those NAEP results, time and time again, New Jersey and Massachusetts are the highest achieving states.
Based on these common assessments that are delivered across the country. That's great. But if you look at New Jersey's standardized test scores, I'm talking about NJS and HESPA, we don't rank at the top. If you look at many smaller states around the country, they have higher achievement scores than we do on their state tests, different tests. If you look at the high school graduation rate, New Jersey does not rank at the top of that list. Other smaller states boast much higher high school graduation rates. But isn't it a bit odd that the only test that is administered consistently across the board that New Jersey would rank here, but it would not rank the same level on the graduation rates and standardized test scores? So we're really excited this is going to be a true metric to measure the achievement here in our state.